Welcome in Monday, recapping the 5 most important things from week 13. That was an incredible Sunday, even better late window with the now real playoff implications as we sort through all this stuff. Okay, let me start with this. The number one thing. Hurts is in the MVP conversation. And I don't mean it in the way where somebody gets mad and goes, how come nobody's talking about this guy? Be like, cool, I'll talk about him. He's not winning the MVP. I was so blown away by Jalen Hurts yesterday and the Eagles. Now, some of you, and I think you'd be right about this, be like, hey, cool. It's week 13. Welcome to the fucking party. Like, where have you been? If I ever get married, it'll never be a drunken weekend in Vegas. It would be, well, we were dating for 5 years and she was packing. That's how I am with relationships. That's how I am with quarterbacks. It takes me some time. And with Hurts, you look at the raw stats here, 9th in yards, 7th in touchdowns. He's 4th in QBR now. He's 5th in rushing touchdowns. And I loved the game that I saw from him yesterday, a dominant performance against the Titans. Eagles are the number 1 seed, and they keep talking about how it's wide open in the NFC. I have been guilty of that too. I thought some of it was that turnover ratio, which, again, usually finds a way to balance itself out. But if it doesn't balance itself out for the season, then you can win a ton of football games. But whether it's the personnel, the coaching, like there's just things every week. And so, yes, whatever mental ceiling I had on the Eagles, I have shattered through it all. I am in. I watched Hurts a lot in college. I watched him, the first year he kind of took over and I was like, I don't know what this is. Then last year, then he beat any good teams. It felt like the Eagles were still open to replacing him. Even going back to that Vikings game where they lit them up earlier this season, what was it, week 2? There was this crazy stat where it was 4.2 yards of separation on Hurts targets, which was like a career, I don't know, it was like the least contested throws of any game in Hurts' career. So I was like, these guys are just running wide open. And it's the personnel. I just think some of the throws yesterday, you know what I loved from Hurts? Whether it was the incompletion on the originally ruled touchdown to A.J. Brown in the right corner, which he was out of bounds, I thought anyway. And again, they ruled it incomplete, so I wasn't even sure if it was going to be a touchdown if they ruled it complete. But that he made that throw. There was one spot for that throw. That wasn't some post where the safety drops down, and that throw's easy because you just throw it to the open side of the field, and then the receiver does all the work and runs underneath it. But then we'll be stupid and go like, oh, perfectly timed. It's like, no, the receiver timed it out like an outfielder. The throw that he made that ended up being incomplete to Brown, there's one spot for that ball. And they had made a change on the route, apparently, when they broke because Hurts liked what he saw. Hurts at Bama didn't feel like he really read the field. Like, that guy's gone. He's gone. And I know he's been gone through much of the regular season. But yesterday, the ball to the left pylon where A.J. Brown's completely covered and Hurts gave him a chance, which is what I love. And between that, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, who's a really nice number 3 receiver, the running game, the O-line, and Nakobe Dean getting in there, tying the team lead. League lead would be a lot because he's only played 4 snaps prior to yesterday. But Nakobe Dean comes in and had 6 tackles coming in late in that game. First play tackles Derrick Henry. So I'm just more in on him than I've been at any other point in the season, which probably feels a little late. But that's fine. Number 2. Let's look at 2 teams here that maybe now, well, at least based on the results, we're like, wait, do we have to now completely pay attention to them again? Cincinnati's felt like an afterthought. Vegas odds, I think, had him as the 9th best odds for a Super Bowl appearance or championship. I don't know. By the way, small correction from last week on that Rams first pick thing. Worst record for defending Super Bowl champs. That was worst record for Super Bowl appearance teams. That's why I included Oakland in there. I read that wrong. I screwed it up. All right, moving on. Cincinnati's gone from 2-3 to 8-4 with their win against Kansas City yesterday. They're now a 5 seed. Mahomes, 16 completions, lowest of the season. He's had a couple 15 completion games. You go back and look at it. So it wasn't like a career low. When you hear 16 completions from Mahomes, you're like, is that the lowest ever? No, it is not. Although another weird thing ESPN.com does when you look at game logs historically year by year, they include the Pro Bowl box score for you, which can screw you up. Cincinnati's down 24-20. The Kelsey fumble. I feel like I'm on an island on this one, but I think Kelsey's always good for like one kind of monumental bad play every few weeks. Maybe I'm wrong. Jamar Chase is back, arguably the best receiver in the NFL. I know the stats would say there's other people that are around more often. That's fine. I think Chase has some juice to him that is almost unmatched. P. Ryan's in, 100 yards for him with Mixon out. I know their tight end is out. But they end up scoring a touchdown and then going up 27-24 and holding Kansas City to a missed field goal. They get the ball back at 3:19, and this is where Burrow is Burrow. They convert a 3rd and 5 on the Chase play where he's going out of bounds and gets to the first down marker. Incredible play by Chase. And then facing pressure on 3rd and 11, Burrow looks like he's about to get crunched from the right side. Completes a 3rd and 11. They go on, run out the clock. Burrow had 4 picks week 1. This was another reminder, I think, for anybody that's not watching. Like, look, you watch your team. That's kind of how it works. And you watch the night games. Maybe you're watching Red Zone. But the Burrow part of this, for an O-line that's 30th in pass win rate, held up all day and gave Burrow, he's always going to have moments where he's scrambling, maybe more than you'd want. There was one run where I was like, are you trying to get knocked out for the season here again? But how about this? Burrow's now 3-0 against Mahomes. San Francisco, the other team that I would say is on the radar. This is still part of number 2. A 3 seed in the NFC from 3-4 to 8-4. San Francisco, 3-4 to 8-4. They made Tua look human. They beat him up. The worst game in over a month for Tua, but then they still hit on a couple big plays, and they went for it on 4th and 2, I think, from their own 19. Got it, and then had a catch overturned. San Francisco hangs on. Whatever, Tua had a bad game. Not that big of a deal. San Francisco felt like they're heading in the right direction, whereas when you look at Cincinnati's remaining strength of schedule, some metrics have it at the 2nd toughest. Others have it as the 5th toughest. They've got Cleveland, they've got Tampa, they've got New England, they've got Buffalo, they've got Baltimore. Not fun. San Francisco has a range of remaining strength of schedule that would tell you it's in the bottom third of the easiest, or maybe the 10th toughest. The problem now is that Garoppolo is out for the season. So for whatever moment you felt as a fan of Cincinnati, you're going, wait, this team is back. This team is back. They're a 5 seed, but they're in the mix now. San Francisco felt like that version in the NFC, but now Garoppolo's out for the season. Although when you look at Brock Purdy's final line, you're like, what did Shanahan did this again? Shanahan has an incredible record with guys that are basically backups. I think he's like right around 500. Sando had it this morning. Number 3, Lamar's tough week. We know he had a tweet that he said something he shouldn't have said. He apologized. And then he got hurt. And the Ravens still won. So Lamar was out for almost this entire game. Hundley came in. They hadn't done anything on offense against a terrific Denver defense. And then they kick a field goal and win this one 10-9. So here's some numbers for you. In the history of the league, teams that had turned it over twice without getting any back, so -2, and scored 10 points or less were 0 and 206 since 1995. And then Denver lost that game. Not great, Bob. Getting back to Lamar, anytime he's hurt, we're always worried about his contract. The reported numbers that came out in September that he turned down was a 5-year extension for $250 million, but $133 million guaranteed. And what you do in season when you're the team, which can be frustrating, certainly for Lamar and Lamar fans or other people that wonder why he can't get the contract. It's because he's turning down big numbers, but he's not getting the guaranteed numbers that other guys are getting. Russell Wilson got 161. Kyler Murray, you having fun with him? That Patrick Peterson stuff, I think, is alarming, but also not a surprise. Murray got $189.5 million guaranteed. And then, of course, Deshaun Watson got all $230 million of his contract guaranteed. Now, other teams look at the Watson deal going, hey, this is unique. This is a one-off. Here was a guy that had competing franchises going for him because there were other teams that wanted him. So Cleveland just went all in and said, screw it. That's why I've always said that NFL teams could do fully guaranteed contracts. They'd convinced us all when we were younger that they couldn't do it because of the injuries. You could do it. If all of these quarterbacks got to real free agency, you don't think all of them would be getting $200+ million guaranteed? And that's what Lamar is going for here. And it's what he'll probably end up getting if he's cool with waiting it out. It just anytime it looks like he's going to be hurt, we all get concerned. Number 4, Jacksonville. This is the ultimate tease this year. sort of, or maybe they just aren't good. Jacksonville is that bet that you have that you are on the wrong side of from the moment the ball kicks off, and you spend the next 3.5 hours and probably 4 because it's extra torture, teasing you into thinking you still have a chance in this one. Like, say, if you had LSU plus the points this weekend against Georgia. You're like, wait, Nussmeier's in there? This guy doesn't care. He's going to start slinging it all over the place. Oh, hey, there's another touchdown. Get a stop here. And then you don't get the stop. The other team scores. You're like, all right, this is over. And then something else happens. You're like, wait, I might be back in. That's what Jacksonville's season is like. Because in the beginning of the year, we're like, hey, I think they're good. No, they're not. And then they beat Baltimore last week. Remember that? That felt like a year ago. Going for 2. I'm like, look at this. Lawrence, big plays, the number 1 pick. He's starting to show. He's coming on. Then they get smoked by Detroit on Sunday. The Jags are the bet that keeps you thinking you're back in 7 more times after you've convinced yourself there's no way you're going to win. I will look back at it. Jacksonville has won back-to-back games once in their last 45 games. Number 5, Deshaun Watson's first game in 700 days, and it looked like 7,000 days. That's to be expected. I mean, it was bad. Cleveland beats Houston, who isn't good, because they get all sorts of other touchdowns that were not in the traditional sense of an offense. I'd be surprised if Watson's not great again at some point. We could talk personnel, but look back at some of those Houston teams that he carried to just remotely competitive records. And that's why he got all that money, as much as it bums everybody out. But this is a really easy thing to forget. I think I kind of forgot it. And Cleveland fans are probably the only ones that would really know this. Do you realize how good Brissett was this year and how this offense ranked? There's some numbers in the EPA stuff that tell you it was the 5th best offense in the NFL. Brissett ended up 6th in QBR. Shout out to my guy, Chris Long, who when he was on New England said, you know who's pretty good is Brissett. I was like, really? At that point, I think he was like the 3rd string guy. But the defense, special teams contribution to Brissett in those games was the worst in the NFL. So he can be thought of as an afterthought. He's more of a starter than I think you realize, but Watson clearly raises your ceiling. It just didn't look that way in his first game back.